Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RVing in New England. It is March 27th, and man, one fourth of the year is almost gone already, which is amazing. Let me bring up my partner in crime here. And evening, John. How you doing?
Robert, how are you?
Good.
Speaking of crime, I'm at the accountant's office. That's why the different set. I'm here to pay my respects to the U.S. government.
You're half off the screen, so I'm not sure where your phone is located, but you're centered. You got to go down a little bit. There you go. That's better. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. So we were going to have Kevin Broom on last week, and he took sick. So we were able to do some of the products in the RVX, but we wanted to bring him back on this week now that he's feeling better. He's the director of media for RVIA and put that whole media lounge together. So before we jump to Kevin, the only thing I think, we got a couple things on the horizon this weekend. We got the New Hampshire Camping and RV Show, and I know Campers Inn is having some open houses at their facilities because they are not exhibiting at the New Hampshire show. And I'm not sure if there's any others. I don't think so. I've gotten nothing from the dealers yet.
No, but I'll tell you, we had a great time last weekend. We visited our folks at Hemlock Hill and also Pete's RV, and they had amazing crowds in their showrooms on Saturday. And even though the weather was a little bit crazy, and I know on Saturday, certain sections of New England got blanketed with about 4 inches of snow, where other places it was as, clear as a late spring day. But regardless, people are out there, they're buying. And the thing that I noticed, Bob, and I'm sure that you were at a couple other dealerships today, younger and younger audiences are coming into the showrooms with little kids in tow.
Yeah, I visited a dealer today, and I don't want to reveal the numbers, but this particular dealer is on a record-setting pace, and the numbers that he has put up in March are stunning. They're unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. The traffic on the lots has been good, and that's been reported for most of the country. I mean, it's going to be a big selling season. It's going to be a great camping season that we have there.
I think we should give all the credit to Kevin.
Right. Let's bring him up and give him his due. And hey, Kevin, welcome to the show. John wanted to thank you personally for RVX and all the uptick in the RV business.
I mean, obviously that was all my work, so yeah.
Kevin, the thing that Bob and I both like best, along with the several people that we dined with, is that we still get carded in Salt Lake.
Yeah, that's right. They're pretty aggressive about carding.
Yeah. Before we let's get one thing on the air. I mentioned that you were sick last week, and I know 6 or 7 members of your own media staff, and the Polks were in the media room, and the Wendlands, the Wendlands. But John, I want to let you know, I've talked to a lot of people. I thought this week I talked to Gerber and the Wendlands, what have you. Guess who they all blame for giving them the cold? You got it. You are the man. So anybody, you are responsible for the problem in the media room. Right?
I'm blaming JetBlue though.
Huh? Yeah.
Did you show up with a cold? I didn't hear this story.
Yeah. So right off the bat, we get the Mass Good Sam, and that's now I don't know. That's okay. That's still Rhonda and Joe on that ticket. And happy birthday, Joe. I know you're 29 years old today, and you're still looking good for 29. And Don says hello. Walter Swenson is on. Walter's the new state director for Massachusetts Good Sam, and he's been doing some wonderful things in the 3 months that he's there. And he had big shoes to fill with Rhonda and Joe, but he's doing a great job doing it. And Mark Polk is on. So Kevin, a lot of the people, you're kind of the behind-the-scenes guy, and people in the industry know you, but consumers certainly don't know you. But why don't you give us a little bit of your background? And you can brag about the Celtics if you want also. But give us a background and your love for basketball and, how you get into this crazy business.
Yeah, well, I don't brag about the Celtics, not in public anyway. No, I came to the RV Industry Association almost 13 years ago. I had been doing a few other things, writing speeches and doing, like I say, a few other things in the general communications world. And RVIA was willing to let me do the media relations And so I came over, and I've been doing that ever since. It's been a lot of fun to, you know, basically talk about things like taking your family on vacation. This is a great way to do it. And to be part of the industry's growth over the last 13 years. I mean, obviously a huge downturn in there as well, but the growth has been pretty incredible.
Well, Kevin,
You're
if it
right.
wasn't for the downturn, we wouldn't be able to talk about the remarkable numbers for the last 9 years. You have to have, I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean the growth for the 9 years, but then the last, let's see, 2017 was an all-time high. 2018 was what, the second best year in history. This year we're probably going to be the third best year in history. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean it's like the growth has been great, but at the same time, we are actually at like all-time
John,
levels of
John,
popularity.
swing your camera towards your right shoulder. You're still off the screen a little bit. I don't know why, but you're doing that. Yeah. So in preparation, one of the things that we were all amazed at, and the number of people that were in the media room, and when you think about the media room, it was packed, and you got Jose there, and you got Greg Gerber, and you got Mark, and I don't know if Don's there. I can't see down there, but you had over 220 media people, and if I'm correct, I think you told me that in our best years at Louisville, we topped out at maybe 160. And
Yeah.
so
So
go ahead.
yes, previous record was 163, and yesterday I finalized the list, and our final count for media attendance in Salt Lake City was 239.
Okay.
My God.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, I think, though, Bob, and I put this in my notes before you even brought it up, it really was a new media lineup this year. It wasn't just the same old people that come in and talk about hardware. You brought people in to talk what I call the software, to talk about the usage of the RVs, not about the RVs themselves. And like even that segment that was on Ellen that Dwayne Cyrus sent us,
Yeah.
reaching a totally different market that may not have been exposed to RVs in the past. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see the media value that you place on the exposure that you get from it. But the important thing, it was new blood.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were very intentional about trying to bring in, the lifestyle media, people who are more focused on, like you say, the usage of RVs, all of the various ways that they would use them in their own lives, and then, communicating that to their readers and to their viewers. We had some new media, influencers, and like online bloggers and social media influencers there for the first time. And like you said, Ellen, the Ellen DeGeneres show sent a crew, and their segment was very entertaining. And
It
so,
was.
and we
Now,
had
Kevin,
some other people there too. I mean,
there's
some first timers. Like, go ahead.
there's a backstory to that. Tell us how your daughter got involved in making that
Oh, geez.
segment happen.
Well, so my daughter knows Kaylin, who was one of the I guess talents, one of the hosts who goes on there, and he's a very funny, gregarious, friendly kind of guy. And so at any rate, I happened to be with her when we were trying to work out the schedule, and so as I was talking to her, she agreed to send a text message to him and said, "Hey, there's this cool off-road test drive that you can do in an RV if you can get there by Tuesday morning." And he replied to her. He said, "Hey, the producers don't really listen, but I'll tell them, I'll mention it." And then a couple of days later, they said that he would be there for it. And so he did. He participated in that test drive. And that's where that really funny bit was, the Revel got stuck in the mud. The track kind of got worn down throughout the morning from all the test drive and from the previous day, because Winnebago basically ran test drives all day Monday and then all day Tuesday, and he was right at the end. So anyway, it got stuck in this mud puddle, and Kaylin is a very stylish dresser, and he was wearing white skinny
White
pants
tights. Yeah.
and some red.
Bob has a pair of those too, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
some red boots and a cape, and Chad Reese from Winnebago, vice president from Winnebago, actually carried him out on his back so that
He
he
did.
wouldn't get his pants dirty.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I gotta say, Kalen wearing white pants to an off-road test drive, and somehow he didn't get a speck of dirt on him the entire day. It was quite the feat.
Well, the rumor has it from Forest City, Iowa, that Chad Reese and Dwayne Cyrus are folk heroes out there because they endured the ride and
Yeah.
the aftermath of the ride.
Yeah, well,
And now they'll endure the aftermath of everybody seeing the video. So I think I got that. So I'm going to post that probably tonight to do that and to work with that. Okay, Lisa and Brian from Two Feathers Restorations are on. They're out there in Deerfield, Mass, and they're doing some nice things with the Hall of Fame, Kevin. They've kind of got a portable display, and we had them at the Boston show and the Hartford show to do that. Oh, guess who else just joined? Mr. Cyrus is on. So
He just joined, or you just
he joined at 1909. So yeah, he's been on 2 minutes. So
okay, so he was on at least to hear his name on
he,
national TV.
I'm sure he heard his name taken in vain. Yeah.
Hey,
That's
Bob,
true.
we should take a second and tell Kevin about our studio audience in that they're very active and in most cases they drive the content for the rest of the show because I can't see them because of the setup that I'm on tonight. I'm not on my laptop, but
Kevin might not be able to see it. I'll probably have to do comments tonight because Kevin, you're on your phone also, right?
Yeah.
They have comments, and you know
So
what? Don't hold back if there's something that they want.
No,
they ask
Two
a
Feathers.
question, so
Two Feathers.
We're not really driving the bus here.
Yeah, Two Feathers says they're looking forward to next year. It's San Antonio, Brian. So mark your calendar now for next March. So San Antonio is a great city, also. So Kevin, we talked last week about the 9 categories. Tell us how RVIA and how you work those into the show, and certainly it's a critical part of the show, a critical part of next year. And then as we go through them, I'll put up the magazines that you've teamed up with that. But give us a little bit of the backstory on how that came about.
Well, so as we looked at revamping, I mean, it's hard to tell the story of RVX without referencing the old show, the National RV Show, which we held in Louisville for 50 some years. And it was clear to us that the industry had basically changed and it really outgrown what we used to do there in Louisville. And so as we looked at it, we'd tried a few different things over the past, several years to make it more modern, to tweak it, to upgrade it, to make it more interesting and exciting. And the show's team and some members and the board of directors, they all got together and said, if we were building a show for today's RV industry, what would it look like? And one of the conclusions they came to.
Oops, I cut you off.
I'm still here.
Yeah,
sorry, I hit the wrong button, Kevin. I was going to try to show you a name there. That's what I was supposed to do. So start that sentence over again, if you will.
So so at any rate, we took a look at what this whole group of RV industry people took a look at what the show looked like and said, is this what we would want our show to look like? And if not, what would we want it to look like if we were launching a completely new show? And so what that conversation led to was the end of the Louisville show and the launch of RVX. And so part of that was we wanted to have a big event to launch the show, to kick the show off and to present to consumers. And we wanted to reach out beyond the walls. It's an industry event, in an industry only event. We wanted dealers to come and suppliers and manufacturers and all of those kinds of folks. But we also wanted to speak to people outside the room. And so the real end goal was to use the show as an opportunity to talk to consumers. And the reveal was conceived to be part of that. And so as we came up with it, it was kind of like, well, how do you present the categories? How do you present the products that are going to be showcased in that reveal? How do you showcase those to consumers in a way that's meaningful to them? And so like Type A motorhome is that's a classification that's important for the industry. Type B, Type C, travel trailers, truck campers, folding, all that's important for the industry, but that's not necessarily how consumers interact with them, with their RVs. You talk to people a lot of times. What do they say? They say, "Oh, I've got a trailer," or I've got a bus, or I've got a camper, that kind of thing. And so we decided that the individual names of the types of RVs was less important than how people were actually using them. And so, we did some research through Go RVing, and we came up with those 9 categories as being sort of the biggest groupings of consumer interest when it comes to RVing.
Basically, Kevin, what you did was you transferred the industry nomenclature into the consumer nomenclature.
Exactly. And we were thinking at every step is how will people use these RVs? Like what? And then also it's like, how will manufacturers and dealers be able to sell these RVs to consumers? When the consumer says, well, I want to go, I want to spend time at the beach with my family. So what's the best kind of RV for that? And that's where we were thinking with it.
And then the categories. So segueing right into the categories, the first one, Bob, was what?
Well, I'll just take them as I threw a bunch of titles up, so we'll just take them one at a time here in terms of. Let me get here, take that off, and go up here. So the first one will be destination camping, and Kevin, you've got talk about your media partner and what you expect from them during the year.
So yeah, the Oprah magazine. It's and so first, what destination camping is looking at is the people who will set their RV up and basically you don't move it. It could be for a season, it could be forever, but the RV stays there and then they sort of commute back and forth in their family vehicle to the destination where they camp. And so those are typically larger RVs that have more living space, more residential in feel. And so we chose the Oprah magazine as as our partner, and that's going to be some online content and some of their influencers, some of their their top experts, I think is what they call them, will be talking about their pick for the for destination camping. So in each of these categories, just to back up just for a second, we had a panel of judges, RVIA did, that selected the products that you saw in the reveal. If you watched it, if you didn't, you can go online, you can watch the show. But we had a panel of judges that selected. Now, each of our media partners in the 9 categories, they could choose, and in some cases they did choose the same vehicle that the panel of judges selected, but in other cases they chose their own, and they were completely, they were allowed to basically choose their own, the one that they thought was the best for their readers.
Okay, so talk a little bit about Oprah's readers. What's the profile of the magazine's readership?
So Oprah's readership leans heavily to women, typically, pretty good household income, generally fairly educated, generally married, with children, generally speaking under 18, living at home. And so this is an opportunity to really speak to the family and a fairly affluent lifestyle is what we'd be looking at with Oprah. And you're talking to women, to the wives and mothers, and those are pretty powerful decision makers in most families.
Well, they are in the RV industry, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
It's kind of an old joke that we've had that the guys pick the chassis and the outside, and the women take care of the inside. So the floor plan, 99% of the time is what the wife wants for the floor plan and what the family wants for the floor plan. So,
you've probably had that experience where the family walks in and the husband's talking about, well, what kind of, this has got the Ford, F-350 motor in it. That's pretty, chassis, and that's pretty cool. And then you've got the mom saying, well, those bunk beds, does it have bunk beds? How did the kids get into the sleepover without tearing up the seat? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's different view.
Kevin, every category has a media outlet attached to it.
That's right.
how was the decision-making process in that as to what unit, what outlets you would go after?
Well, so what that was something that was driven by Karen Redfern, who's the vice president of brand marketing for Go RVing, and Karen wrote the requests for proposal, which went out to a variety of magazines that we believe that she believed fit into sort of each one of those categories. So with destination camping, there were several publications that received the RFP for that. I think some of the publications received RFPs for more than one, and then they could sort of decide which one interested them the most. Mm-hmm. And there were good fits in most of those cases. There were good fits from multiple publications. Mm-hmm. We could have gone in several different directions.
In a case with monthly publications, mm-hmm. You're going to have several months of activity out of this just because of the backup time that's mm-hmm. needed in a monthly magazine, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to a broadcast like this, which is instant.
Sure. And that was, as we thought about it, getting all of the media coverage out of just Salt Lake City, just in those like three days that we were there, mm-hmm. was less important than having a sustained
stretch
of information about RVs. And mm-hmm. So you'll see in each of these categories, the publications that there will be content coming over the next probably 2 months, coming from different magazines. And some of it, for several of these outlets, there was content that went up immediately, while will go up this week, that kind of thing, very close to RVX, like they're online. They did some things online, but obviously for the print publications, the lead time for that is typically,
sure.
6 weeks to
yep.
2 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, time for your commercial, DePietro.
Okay, so Kevin, here's the part where this is the reason that we get to reach 5,000 to 10,000 people a week. And what we do is we ask our audience who are watching us now and will be watching us on replay to share this, either with people that are already in the RV world or are considering it, because the only way that we can reach that vast number of people is through the help of our great studio audience. And in the meantime, while I'm doing this, Bob is out handing out gifts to them in the studio audience. We gave away 3 diesel pushers last week, and this week I think we've got a truck camper and a Revel. Actually, we're giving away that actual Revel from Winnebago.
Yeah.
Mr. Iris is getting that for us. We're giving that away. It's the actual one that was used in Salt Lake City. So, folks,
but John, that assumes they get it out of the mud puddle by now.
Exactly. We got to call.
This is Winnebago. They got it out of a mud puddle.
We got to call Chad, and he was going to push it out or pull it out. But we do want to ask our people. We always thank our people for sharing, because that's what allows them to do cool things with our numbers.
That's right. How about on the horizon, Kevin? That's an interesting category, because it breaks the molds and concept RVs that are looking at the future of RVing. And you teamed up with Wired magazine. Tell us a little bit about the magazine, the audience, and what they look for here.
Yeah, Wired is their niche is looking at technology. It's funny that they call themselves Wired when so much of technology now is becoming unwired. It's wireless.
Maybe they'll change the name of the magazine.
Yeah, maybe the magazine change a title name or something, change the title or something. But no, so one of the things that we wanted to do with RVX was to highlight the new and innovative thinking that was going on in the industry. And you saw when you walked around on the show floor there were a number of companies that really bought into that and really tried to put their technology that they were working on front and center in their displays. There were some companies that displayed only concept vehicles, only that showcase specific technologies that they've been working on in some cases for years. And there was one company, I think they had 19 motorhomes in their display, but only one of them was an actual production model. Everything else was a concept vehicle or a prototype. And that's the kind of thing that we were hoping to do, is to have the industry looking forward. And Wired was brought. They were really excited to jump in on this and to be part of the industry. One of their editors is an RVer himself, and he was really excited about coming out and seeing what was new and interesting in the industry. And so, like I said, that's going to show up in their coverage, is their general excitement about
Kevin,
the technology that they saw.
Is it your plan in the future to share the content of the writings and the postings and the video that was generated at RVX?
Yeah, all of that will be showing up in various ways. I mean, as it comes out, we will promote it out through RVIA.org, and then also through our newsletter, and then it goes out into the trade press and will be sent around to the industry. And then we'll also, I'm sure, be looking at some ways to to repackage and to amplify back out to consumers as well.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that everybody sees it, not just like the Wired. There may be people who don't subscribe to Wired but would still be interested in seeing it.
Yeah, a certain aspect of it.
Yeah,
because
we want them to see it.
I don't know if they're a technology pub or not, but one of the things that we learned from Toby O'Rourke's presentation is people want to unplug, but they want to stay connected. Now, it almost sounds like a contradiction in terms, but the fact that the new RVs are coming out with USB plugs all over the place, people want to get away, but they want to stay connected simultaneously. Well, and I think that was important.
Yeah, I think what people want, they want to get away, on their vacation, but they still want to be able to check email after they get back from their hike or after they get back from their sightseeing. And they still want to be able to, tweet about it and Instagram about it and put it up on Facebook and say, look at this cool thing I saw today. Mm-hmm. So that, being connected but not connected, that's really important.
Right.
So Michelle and Laurie have joined us. That's two gals in the Boston Brew. They are on assignment in Arizona for rolling on tea, and they're sitting at the Backstreet Diner in Cords Junction, I guess it is. So hello, ladies. Glad you could join us tonight. I know they're on assignment. They're doing a piece with I want to say, a Forest River Forester motorhome. I think that's what they got. Tell me if I'm wrong, Michelle. Walter Swenson is being serious tonight, so we're a little bit loose, but Walter wants a serious question. So we always address the questions to the people, and sometimes they're challenging. But Walter says, any concerns about the current quality, service, and campsite supply challenges of the industry causing a once and done customer who doesn't return to the industry after a bad experience? And we covered a lot of that at the show. And the industry certainly addressing it, but what would you say to Walter on that one, Kevin?
Yeah, I would say that's of course a concern. That because the RV industry, we tend to, I think, focus on like the inside the industry competition, where the Forest River versus Thor versus Winnebago versus Tiffin, or whatever that competition is. But RVing is competing against all kinds of other leisure activities, and people have the option to choose where they're going to go. And so in terms of like overall RV quality, that's something that, as you say, the industry is taking very seriously. The RVIA has started the RV Technical Institute, putting up $10 million to improve the training of RV technicians and to recruit additional technicians into the industry to, like many industries, the RV industry has a shortage of qualified technicians to maintain and repair RVs, and so the RV industry is really putting its money where its mouth is, and is really trying to take very seriously how we can fix that. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of campgrounds, that's the number of campgrounds, the quality of campgrounds. That's something that RVIA has begun working on. We're working with on the our government affairs side to improve and upgrade the national park system, because a lot of those campgrounds that RVers want to go to the national parks, but the national parks, the campgrounds haven't been updated and they haven't always been maintained over the decades, and they haven't really kept up with where RVs are now. Mm-hmm. And so we're working on that to try to get that fixed. So.
Kevin,
Yeah,
interestingly though, when a lot of the big complaints from RV owners probably 10 years ago was that the national parks can't handle a 45-foot diesel pusher.
Sure.
But interestingly now, the hot items are not the 45-foot diesel pusher Class A's, but they're the B's and the small C's. But at the same time, you still need power, and you still need water, et cetera, that the parks have to live up to their end of the bargain in.
Yeah, need power, need water, some space to open slide outs in many cases, and and then with national parks especially, you also get into that connect, disconnect but connect thing, because the Wi-Fi isn't always existent or very good. So.
Yep.
Well, and that's a good point about the national parks and the state parks. And I thought that was one of the slides that really stuck out on Toby's presentation, that when they surveyed the campers, that 86% of the people in the country camping feel that they have not seen enough of the United States.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think about the potential of just that, just people wanting to see parts of the United States and the potential for all of these 9 categories, one of which is team tailgates and Sports Illustrated. And we know, those of us who are RVers, how important tailgating is. But I think of all the 9, I'm going to guess, and I'll probably be wrong, but I'm going to guess that the mileage that we get out of Sports Illustrated this year will top the other 8, just because of the nature of tailgating and what people do. But tell me if I'm wrong, or what your thought is on that, Kevin.
Yeah, I would say that's certainly possible. Although we do have, the Oprah magazine is pretty big, and we've got Women's Day coming up. I think, and the Ellen show was pretty big as well. So we'll see, in terms of who we reach in terms of audience. Now that said, with tailgating, that's a huge thing with college football and with NFL as well. And so those are some things that it'll be interesting to see. It's a very popular pastime for RVers, that's for sure.
Yep. The let's see what else we have here.
Hey, Bob, while you're looking for questions from our audience, let me ask Kevin a question. And Kevin, have you guys had your big debriefing meeting yet back in Reston?
Not yet. That's April 3rd.
April 3rd. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how your leaders will judge the show, what you did right, what you did wrong. Is there anything that that you think from your aspect of your involvement with it that you said, you know what, we really hit a home run on that, and what could we have done better? I mean,
I think we'll see what people say, but I think the overall sense was that the show was very successful, but that we could do some things to tweak and improve. So you guys are familiar with like the media, the media lounge and what we did there. There's some things I would do, or I would like to do differently, or would at least like to try. Easy for me to say, right? Things like I'm, kicking around, like, should we try to have a media day, a dedicated day that's for media? Should we just have like a dedicated time that's for media, maybe only a few hours or something like that?
Well, I'll bring up one, and I thought of this when we were there the other day, is having a media mixer, if you will, so we all could get to know each other, because I found some very talented people that were in that room, and they helped me out, because the day that we were supposed to do this show, 3 weeks ago,
right,
was when Facebook decided to go on hiatus. And if it wasn't for some people, other media people that were there, we wouldn't have had a show that night. And then some other people that we talked to, like from At Your Leisure magazine, that guy Chad, he even hosted, because I had no voice as well. But I just think maybe.
And those guys came into the show late. They called
right.
me. Let's see. They called me. I think it was on like the Friday before the show, and said, "Hey, is it okay if we come?" And I was like, "Yeah, come on."
And they're Salt Lake City people. But you know what? Just for us to get to know each other, even for an hour.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of. I think there was a lot of talent. Bob, would you agree with me on that? There was a lot of talent in that room.
There was tremendous talent in that room. It's and the nice thing about it was, it was every age and description of ethnicity. I mean, it was a melting pot of media. And I think you're on a good track there, Kevin, because we all have our own schedules and our own appointments and stuff. But if there was a dedicated time where the show was only open to the media, or the show wasn't open, but the media people had a mixture of some sort, because we can feed off of each other and certainly learn from each other to do that. Dawn had a comment. She says educating the end user is important to once they've gotten bitten by the bug, and I think we all believe that, and goes right back to that quality question. Scott Nichols just joined us from Marshfield. You're a little bit late this week, Scott, and Ed Liturco joined us. Hi, Ed. Glad to see you're here. Sustainability and popular mechanics. That's a kind of an interesting mix.
Well, Popular Mechanics is it's an interesting publication because a lot of the guys that we work with there are kind of gearheads. They love gadgets and they love the technology that goes into vehicles. In this case, they were interested in this idea, the concept of how does sustainability apply within the RV industry. Now, obviously, for the users of RVs, the users are environmentally conscious in many ways. I mean, one of the reasons that people RV is that, we just touched on it, is wanting to see the country, wanting to see these beautiful natural sites, wanting to be outdoors and doing things. And, you don't want to mess those things up. And so with the RV, things are contained, and you dump your sewage and that kind of stuff in appropriate places, and don't, so you do some things to take care of the environment. Yeah, RVs use less power. Basically every light bulb in there is a high efficiency, low power kind of bulb. You're using less water typically because you've got a small tank and a small hot water heater, and so you're tend to be more careful about your various resources.
That's interesting. I want to jump backwards for a minute. Walter's got a great suggestion. Walter Swenson. Walter's with Dell Computer. He says, I wouldn't doubt that this is already on your back of your mind. He says, I would like to see a virtual RVX that end users can connect and see images, webcast, technology updates. We do that for our customers now and get great responses. And a lot of companies have gone in that direction because it's not a consumer show.
Right.
But to your point about bringing the magazines in and talking about the way people use it, and you did a lot, reaching out with the reveal. But what were your thoughts after the reveal? And has there been a discussion of maybe making some kind of a virtual RVX out of this?
Well, a virtual, I don't think we've discussed that yet, although we will on April 3rd, and because I think this is a great idea. But just in general, the idea of making sure that we have a lot of video and photo assets available after the show for consumers, but also for the news media, because there were a lot of products there. It's a smaller show than it was at Louisville, but there's still a lot to do, and it's also challenging in some
cases. You guys
cases
streamed a lot of events, all of those Alan that showcase stage over there. Those were all streamed live, were they not?
The Allen stage was not streamed live, although in future years, assuming
but it was
comes
recorded.
back, yes, it was. That content will be going out, but that's the kind of thing that we will, I'm sure, be streaming live in the future.
But Winnebago did some live streaming. I think Numa did their own live streaming on the Superstar 20. There's things that certainly can be expanded on.
And the reveal was live streamed.
Yeah. Diane Quayle.
Any idea on numbers of that, Kevin?
Say again.
Any idea on the number of people that viewed that?
I haven't gotten that information yet.
I mean, it is available, right?
The video is available. You can go to RVIA.org or RVX.org.
No, but I mean, was there any measurement available while the event was going on to see how many people were watching it?
Yeah, there probably was. I wasn't directly involved in that part of it, but I'm sure there was something.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know that this show's department, Jeremy Green was the sort of executive producer of that, and I'm sure that he knows to the.
And you know what? Before we go any further, that was a Hollywood production.
Yeah.
When I came in that room and I looked at those trusses on the ceiling,
Yeah.
and I saw all the lights, I said, people are not going to be aware of how much time it took to build that show.
Yeah.
Before Rutledge announced the first winner. I mean, that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it was a big production, and I have people that I know. My wife watched the whole thing live, and she was really impressed with it. She's like, it was like watching a TV show.
Mm.
Yeah,
And,
I'm gonna post that.
and that was live. That was all done live.
Yeah, I'm gonna post that
challenging to
link
do.
so people can see it because it is long, 2 hours, but we'll post that. So now I want to get past that 2 RVX shows before we post it. Brian or Lisa says, is the show going to travel to different parts of the country as a standard practice?
Mm-hmm.
Could this hurt attendance for those waiting for the show to come near them?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes. So the first one was Salt Lake City. Next year is going to be in San Antonio. I think in 2021 we go back to Salt Lake City, and then we go to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So, but the rotation
that based upon availability of building.
Yeah, well, we put together the show in basically a year, and so at the point when we were booking out, a lot of these big trade shows like this will book 5, 10, 15
Right.
years in advance, and so we were going. We wanted the spring time frame. We wanted to hit certain areas of the country, and so there was a limit to like how many of those we could get to. But at any rate, the show was going to rotate at least initially. Probably the first 10 years or so between Salt Lake City, San Antonio, and Indianapolis. And that gets sort of the three major portions of the country. From Salt Lake City, you can draw from the West Coast and from, the West and some from the Midwest as well, sort of the Western Midwest. San Antonio is obviously, Texas is a huge market for the RV industry.
Yep.
And Indianapolis is close to the RV headquarters.
Yeah. So we got...
Was there any talk of going back to the November, December timeframe, only because of the number of dealers, at least in the Northeast, that said, I'd love to go, but I can't because it's my busiest time of the year?
Yeah, I don't think that that's been contemplated, because I think that the idea is that the show is, we wanted the show to be positioned right at the beginning of the buying season, when consumers are really starting to think about their summer vacations and getting outdoors and starting to make that purchase decision.
The consumer buying season.
Yeah. And so, and dealers, I mean, we certainly want dealers to come, and we're trying to make the show as interesting and attractive to dealers as we can. And so we want dealers to come out and see what's there. So it's a tough time. There isn't really a good time in the schedule,
Yep.
Yeah. We want to recognize, we got Tom Zabrowski on, says great discussion and very important points brought up. Tom's a longtime FMCA member and president of Northeast Area Association for several years. And Diane Quayle joined. Diane and Martin are the Good Sam state directors up in Maine, good friends, and they're in the middle of rebuilding the Maine Good Sam chapter, and they'll do a great job because they've been there before. They know what to do, and they're having fun doing it all over again. Let me go back up here. And as you mentioned, it is also time to kick off the camping season, which was important. And Toby did her presentation on the North American. A lot of the statistics come out of the North American Camping Report.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other ones that was a very popular category, both in terms of the submittals, but also with a lot of the media, because a lot of the media were of the younger generation. So again, it's really good that you had those people coming in at the younger. Now you're going to have them reporting on van life. But you got to tell me what Whalebone magazine is, because I don't have a damn clue.
Well, see, the whalebone is something that how do you have grandkids, Bob?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
5.
Oh, 5. Well, so probably your kids might be reading this publication. My
kids are 40 and 36.
Yeah, so maybe just like a little bit younger than your kids.
John probably has one. He's got 6 grandkids. He's got a better selection.
Yeah. So like my daughter is 23. So
I only know Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
No, so Whalebone is a really it's kind of a hip, really cool publication. It's they do a great job. They've got a unique look, and it's for this kind of product is perfect for them. They're actually based, I believe, in the Northeast, and I believe in Boston, and they just have a unique take on life, and so
Well,
this
my
van
guess,
life
Kevin,
is adventurous.
with a name like Whalebone, they're not based in the Midwest.
No, no. Yeah, that's not an Iowa name, is it?
It's not.
Well, talk about the category and how popular it is, because we know that Class B is up 25% this year and 25% for the last 4 or 5 years. It's the only segment that we had last year that showed positive growth. So talk a little bit about that.
So yeah, these smaller, more fuel efficient, really sleek RVs have been popular. And then van life is kind of something that really has started with younger people, the millennial generation, where they're buying vans. It might be a Ford Transit van or something like that, and then they're sort of taking everything out and they're building their own RV inside of it, and they call it van life. And what they want to do is go off the beaten path. They want to get out to places where other people don't go. They don't necessarily want to stay at a campground. They want to go off into the into some kind of deserted area where nobody else is, and spend time doing things that other people can't do or see, and take a lot of pictures and really experience things that that are very uncommon, very unique. And so the van life, the RV product that fits in that is really the type B motorhome.
That was one of the categories where I thought that the products in that category were all very synergistic. That there were some categories where you could sit and say, well, does a $500,000 diesel pusher really fit in destination camping? Probably not. But in that category, the winner was the Mod Van CB1 camper van that came out of California, and they were first time show exhibitor and brand new to what we're doing. But you also had the Winnebago Rebel. You had the Winnebago Travato Pure 3, which was running on the lithium batteries. The Leisure Travel Van, Wonder Twin Bed, and the Coachman Galleria. So they were all very reflective of what they have. But what I thought was interesting, and I don't have the numbers, I do have the script somewhere here, but the amount of impressions from the hashtag van life and that whole group, the number of impressions in Pinterest and the level of interest amongst that particular group was significant.
Yeah, I mean, van life it's very popular. It's not like, I don't think it's like popular on the level of like the Super Bowl, but it's popular in the sense that I think people who have that wanderlust, they want to see things, they want to get outdoors and do these, like I talked about, collect these unique experiences, that the van life feels accessible, because you can buy a van that you can use for your daily life. If you're married, you've got a couple kids at home or something like that, you can get something, and then you can also use it for your vacations. You can just convert it as you need to. And
a lot of people who have the Class B say they like it because they can use it as a second car if need be.
Yeah.
Because it generally fits in one parking space, and it's easy to drive for both, all members of the family.
Yeah.
Doesn't it's not.
And I mean, you think about you think about the number of families that are involved in soccer, lacrosse, baseball, all those sorts of things. I mean, when you go out to those fields for like a soccer tournament, for example, and you're there at the field all day long, those porta potties get pretty disgusting, and the having to go find a bathroom someplace.
You know what?
Can be a pain.
Kevin, every time that we take a road trip that doesn't involve our RV, you know what? There's two words that make you say, "Let's take the RV next time," and those are public restrooms.
Yeah.
Public toilets, rest areas. They're just and you know what? Bob and I were just saying the other night, 2 weeks ago, when we were flying out there, the hassle of the airports.
Yeah.
We had to leave our houses 4.5 hours early before the flight for a 4-hour flight.
Yeah.
So our backup time was longer. And, we talked with the Wendlands, and they said they used to have 1,000-mile theory that if the trip was under 1,000 miles, they would take their RV. Now they're moving it to 1,500 miles.
Yeah, I will say
because of the hassles of flying.
Virtually almost all the time, if the drive is, if it's less than 8 hours drive, then I will typically drive it.
Yep, me too.
It's about the same.
Rick,
the driver fly at that point.
Rick Kessler just joined us from RV Business and Woodall's Campground Management. And Rick, if you're going to be a regular at the show, Rick, we start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, if you're ever going to earn the right to come on the show, Rick, you got to show us a little bit of love. So I know your Wednesday nights are free now, so you got to kind of earn your way onto the show. So let's get that a little bit sharper there. So we did Van Life. I think we have one more. Yeah, City Escape.
Kevin, you got to admit, it's the only show you've ever been on where the host yells at the guests.
That's right.
Not the guest.
I just wanted to give
viewers.
Rick a word of encouragement. Rick, I've been part of the industry 13 years, and I'm finally on.
City Escape and Esquire magazine. Now I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are surprised to hear that Esquire magazine is still out there, because that goes way back. So there must be a story behind this one.
Well, I don't know how much of a story it is. I mean, the Esquire is still a terrific publication, and they have a big online presence, and still a significant subscriber base. And they actually get the paper magazine in their mailbox, and they still sell them on the newsstand. I mean, it's a really good publication. They do some really first-rate journalism, and long form journalism. Really delve into stories and have a unique perspective. And the reader of Esquire is affluent and probably a little closer to my age than.
Our age.
Our age.
Well,
trying to say,
your range, and also
I picked up on that too, John.
Bob, get him off.
Yeah. And also, again, an affluent audience. It's high income. That people who are
Kevin,
intelligent. They're interested in the world.
I think one of the biggest misnomers of the RV industry is that RVers are blue collar and below, with low income, whose RV is bigger than their house, when in reality, it couldn't be further from the truth. Because, when you go camping, you could be next to a bank president one day, a college president the next day. But the thing is, when people check into a campground, they check their ego at the front desk, so that you don't have that caste system that it's like in, in society. Because in reality, if you're a white collar guy and you've got an RV and you're broken down, you probably don't want a college president next to you. You want a guy who's a mechanic, or a lady who knows what she's doing with electricity, right?
Yeah.
Rick says, has Kevin talked about driving a Class A in Times Square? So is there a story that Rick knows that we don't know?
Well, okay, so one of the things that we do.
He's thinking about his answer. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we do, probably at least once a year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, is we will take an RV up to New York City, and we go around and we'll pick up magazine, or we'll drive up to the headquarters of Hearst or Meredith Publishing or something like that, and we invite out the editors and writers and everybody to come out and see the RV, and we ply them with food and maybe some beverages, and talk to them about RVing and talk to them about doing stories in RVs and taking trips and that kind of stuff. And so, sometimes that involves driving RVs through Times Square or other areas of Manhattan, and it's it tends to fall to me, and that's it's an adventure.
I don't know if Dwayne is still on with us, but Dwayne has been the Winnebago guy in the East, who is always, one of his jobs is to show up in New York City at about 2 a.m. and squeeze it over around 50th Street to the Today Show.
No,
the Today Show.
No. Dwayne does Fox News shows, and Fox.
Dwayne
we get better exposure at Fox than we do, the other guys there.
he gets them in up there at Fox News, right there on 6th Ave and
Right.
49th. And
Well, I was doing a product review one year for FMCA on a 40-foot diesel pusher, Fleetwood Discovery, and you know where I took it for the test, which my wife thought I was crazy. Downtown Bar Harbor, Maine, in the middle of the summer.
Not a good idea.
Didn't hit a thing. Didn't hit a thing.
No,
It was me and the big buses. It was like July. No, it was the middle of the day.
I mean, here's the thing: when you're driving like one of those big RVs, is that one of the things that you're up above, most everything, so you have a really good field of vision. The mirrors and the backup camera are all pretty good, generally speaking. You have a good view, and then you can also use the size of the RV to kind of bull your way through traffic sometimes. So,
and those air horns help too.
Yeah, those don't hurt. Those don't hurt.
Before we jump into the last category, we're getting close here to our hour, but Lisa says, is there any addition to expect at next year's show that you hope to see? Now that probably defers to the April 3rd meeting, but anything off the top of your head that you're thinking about adding?
I think that anything I said at this point would probably be premature, so I'd rather talk about that after the April 3rd and after some decisions actually get made. Yeah.
Let's jump into our last publication in the last category, luxury living. And there was some great products in that category also, but great magazine, Travel and Leisure. That's not a bad place to be showcasing RVs.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, obviously, Travel and Leisure sort of, it speaks for itself. I mean, that's a highly affluent audience of people who really want to travel and they want to do it in luxury. And the luxury living category was just loaded with some, like you say, some great products. The beautiful coaches and trailers as well.
Yeah, we had the Fusion oh no, that was the auto category. We had the Stratus VRK by Venture. We had the Integra Coach diesel from Cornerstone. We had the Crossroads Redwood RV that was beautiful, and we had the Forest River Cardinal fifth wheel. So yeah, there was a good selection in there.
Yeah. So that's always sort of the. I think when people think of RVs, there's just the layperson, they think of that rock star bus kind of thing, and that was you look at the Integra, that's kind of what that is. And honestly, you look at the fifth wheels that were included in this category, that were recognized in this category. They're kind of like the rock star buses too.
They were unbelievable. They truly were unbelievable to do it. Before we get to our closing comments, John, we'll give you 3 minutes to do your pitch.
Yeah, you know what? Same thing as before, folks. If you didn't join us earlier in the show and didn't hear our presentation to our plea to share, one of the reasons that we can reach several thousand people a week through this publication is by the work of you folks sharing it. So down at the bottom of your screen, regardless of what type of device you're looking at, there's a share button. And please take the time to share and send it to somebody that is thinking of getting into the RV lifestyle, and I'm sure they'll thank you very much.
Yeah, and let me add to that too. One of the things, when you do share, feel free to share to the groups that you're active in, because we do. John shares it to about 15 Facebook RV groups, and I share it to about 15 to 16 LinkedIn RV groups, and we get some really good comments on that. So we're running close to the hour. Kevin, I'm going to let you say your final goodbyes and comments or whatever you want to say.
No, well, first, thanks for having me on. It's been fun. Spending an hour talking about RVs and stuff, and so.
Not that you don't do it during the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what
this is a lot more fun than a staff meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's funny. When I was a kid, my parents used to put me on an airplane. I would fly out west to my grandparents in Oregon, and every summer I would spend 2 or 3 weeks in an RV. And I stumbled into the RV industry, like I say, about 13 years ago, and it is a great way to travel, and it's a fun way to see the country
and meet nice people.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Nice people, and it's great for the family and great for your friends and what have you. Any closing comments, John?
No, just want to thank Kevin for his time. I know that when you do this for a living, you say, "Oh man, you know what? I'm doing this 8 to 10 hours a day. The last thing I need to do is take an hour of personal time at night." But Kevin did so graciously, and we want to thank him and certainly welcome him back. I know when we had him on 3 weeks ago, it was like calling over, "Kevin, Kevin, get over here, get over here." And we had no idea what was going on. We had Chad talking, and we made it work, and that show was great. And I'm thinking tonight will be great as well.
Well, Rick says, great show, guys, but it went by way too quickly.
Especially when you join us at 10 of 8.
Especially when you're only there for 20 minutes, Rick.
Yeah.
All right.
I know.
All right. So we will see everybody next Wednesday night. Kevin, thanks very much for taking time to be with us tonight. John will get you this weekend at the New Hampshire RV and Camping Show. So good night, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care.